Namaste, everyone. Welcome to this short but full body vinyasa flow. I'm Angela Compton. Let's get started in Hero's Pose. Coming to the knees, allowing the hips to sink back onto the heels. Closing the eyes. As you can see, I took my practice outdoors today, and I urge you to do so as well when you can. So you'll hear the birds singing. If you're outside, notice that air on your skin as well. Begin to go from the outside to the inside, bringing a deeper awareness to your breath, noticing the inhales and the exhales, gradually beginning to deepen those inhales and slow the exhales, making it more intentional, mindful. On an inhale, let's come to the knees, lift the arms up, gazing up. Exhale, track the right hand down the right leg, left arm up to the center, setting it back down to the heels. Inhale, rising back up, switching it out. Left hand tracks down the left leg, right arm up and slightly over, gazing over that left shoulder, setting it back down. Inhale, rising, staying up for both sides this time. One hand tracks down as the other leans over to the other side, gazing over that dropped shoulder, through the center, back through Hero's Pose. One more time, each side. Drop it, gaze, inhale, centering, exhale to that twist. Then coming to a neutral spine, hands and knees, tabletop. One round of cow and cat. And then tucking the toes, lifting the hips up high, finding our first downward facing dog. Gazing toward the belly or through the legs, pedaling it out, shifting the ankles to one corner of the mat and then the other, swaying the hips, pressing the fingertips into the mat. Head just hangs in between the arms. Coming to the tippy toes, taking it to the top of your space. Inhale, lifting halfway and gazing out. Exhale, folding, pressing the mat away as you root it down to rise up, gazing up to the Tadasana, Samasthiti Tihi, hands at heart center. Take a moment, close the eyes. Really feel the earth underneath your feet. Circle it up. Let's take a side bend to the right. Pause it here. Another inhale for a little lift out of the rib cage and a little deeper bend through the center. Taking a side bend, taking a little bit deeper. Inhale, up and over, pressing the opposite hip out through the center. Waterfall it down. Inhale, the half lift, nice straight flat back. Exhale, plant the hands. Take it back to a plank, to the knees, chest, chin, or lower halfway down. Elbows come in toward the body. Tops of the feet, cobra up dog, shine the heart. Tuck the toes. Bring it back, downward facing dog, hips up high, that upside down V shape. Bring it to the knees and the hands. Our cow, the belly sags, we gaze up. Exhale, rounding it in, chin to chest, belly to spine. Tuck the toes, downward facing dog. This is our Sun A flow. The tippy toes, travel to the top of your mat, step it, walk it, hop it, halfway lifting, folding in, pressing it away to slowly rise up, taking a side bend to the right, opposite wrist. We press that opposite hip out. Take a moment to take it deeper to the left. Inhale, another round of breath. Take it deeper through the center, slight back bend. Waterfall it down. The arch up, gazing out. That's our drishti. Step it back, lower halfway down or bring it to the knees, the chest, the chin. Tops of the feet, shoulders down, shine the heart for our up dog and then downward facing dog. Coming to the knees, taking a child's pose, Balasana, the pause in between our Sun A and our Sun B. And then you can walk the hands over to one side and then over to the other and see if you don't feel a little bit more open after our Sun A. It was only a couple of them, but my guess is you're going to start to feel a difference. Feel the change happening. Coming back to hands and knees, downward facing dog. Tabletop. That's how our flow is going to start for the second one. Knee to nose with that left knee down, right leg extended. Then our 3-limb down dog, knee to nose. Send that right leg up high, bring it through. Plant and pivot the back foot down. We're going to come up to a grounded warrior. So arms will track behind you, front knee is bent, back foot is planted, pivoted. Torso is bent, leaning forward, gazing out ahead of you. Then inhale, coming into our strong warrior one. Really take a moment to settle into it. Shoulders down, elbows straight, gazes up. Bring your hands to heart center and exhale, come into prayer twist. Gazing up at that lifted elbow, you're in the ball of the back foot. Twisting from the navel. And step it up and find a chair prayer twist. Pressing that left elbow into the right knee, gazing up toward the right elbow. Center it, stand it up as we did in Sun A, tilt it back to fold it in half. Arching up, gazing out, taking your vinyasa flow or just simply coming to downward facing dog. No have-tos in yoga. Once you find yourself in downward dog, coming back to tabletop, left leg will extend out long, tap it knee to nose. Inhale, tuck the right toes, send that left leg up high, 3-limb down dog. Tap it knee to nose, round it in, pause it, send it up high, low runner's lunge, plant and pivot, finding our grounded warrior, gazing out ahead of you a few feet. Inhale, rising, Virabhadrasana A. Knees stacking over that front ankle, hips square to the top of the mat. Taking our prayer twist as we come to the ball of the back foot or keep the foot flat. What works best for you? Gazing up toward that lifted elbow and step it up. That really takes some core action. Prayer in a chair. Knees in alignment. Tuck the tailbone. Send it up high. Fold it in half. Halfway lifting. Plant the hands. Vinyasa flow. High to low. Push up. Chaturanga Dandasana. To the upward dog or cobra. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Downward facing dog. The upside down V shape. Bring it to the knees. And we're going to come into a camel flow. So one hand will stay out front and the other comes to that back foot. I have right hand forward, left back. Camel flowing. Inhale, we lift. Press the hips forward. Lean back into it. Trade the hands. Head comes down. Inhale, lifting. Pressing it forward. How many times is up to you. Option is also here to take a full camel. And I find it easiest to tuck my toes because my arms are short. That way I can get a hold of the heels. That support. Really press the hips forward here. lead with the heart. And when you've had enough, coming into child's pose, Balasana, to release that lower back. Knees can come in for a more restorative child's pose with the arms tracking behind you. Keep checking in with your breath, resetting it here, but coming back to it, doing your best to keep the lips sealed and engaging that Ujjayi breath. It's audible. Slight hissing at the back of the throat. Right leg lifts. Take it through. We're going to come into a balancing sequence here, Dekasana. So we're standing on the right leg, left leg lifts, hands can be at heart center, warrior three straight ahead, or tracking behind you like we did with the grounded warrior. Really engaging the core, the lower belly lifting, and bringing it in for the tree. Sole the foot anywhere inside the standing leg except for the knee. See if you can row your branches up tall. Tuck the tailbone. Find a point that's not moving ahead of you, a steady drishti. If you fall out of it, just come back into it. And setting it into Malasana, garland pose, or yogi squat. The toes are out, heels are in. Drop the tailbone. You could take a twist here, or you could take a crow pose if that's in your practice, which is just making a shelf with your forearms as you plant the palms and bringing the knees up toward the armpits. But I'm just going to hop it back to downward facing dog to take it to the left side. Inhale, left leg lifts. Take it through, low runner's lunge. Engage your core, step it up, and fly your airplane. You should be using your deepest Ujjayi pranayama breath here. A slight constriction at the back of the throat, that deep, fiery belly breath. So much concentration here. And slowly coming up, try not to touch the mat. That left foot, finding your tree. Sending your branches up high. That works for you. Hands to heart center, yogi squat. Tuck the tailbone. Lift through the heart, lift through the crown of the head, pressing the elbows into the knees. Knees press into the elbows, creating resistance. Palms pressing together. Downward dog or to seated, because that's where we're ending up. It's in a seated posture, preparing for fire log pose. A little bit of a hip opener. So we're going to stack one shin on top of the other. It really doesn't matter which side you start with. The shins are stacked. Arms lift on an inhale, and you just simply fold over, allowing the head to drop down, slowing the breath. Still a slow, deep, steady breath, sending the inhales to the tight areas, hips in this case, right? So coming to stillness in our practice, but work nonetheless. Walking the hands in toward the body, taking a boat pose here before we change sides. So lower belly lifts, pelvic floor, intercostal muscles come into the midline. Spine is straight, crown of the head lifted. The hands can still be behind the legs. And then switching to the other side, bringing the opposite leg on top. Inhaling for a little lift, folding in half, hinging from the waist. Closing the eyes. Staying here for a few rounds of breath. Feeling the cool air on your skin, or the air might be warm, just noticing. its qualities if you're outside. Hearing the birds, staying connected with nature and with yourself. Slowly rising. One more Navasana. You can do it. Re-engage that deep Ujjayi breath for just a moment, just a couple of rounds of breath. And then reverse tabletop. Letting the head hang behind you if that works for your neck. Lifting through the hips. Slowly setting it all the way down. Lying back, coming into Halasana, plow pose. Feet up over your head. If the toes touch, you can release the hands. And then preparing for Salamba Sarvangasana, shoulder stand, supporting your back, keeping your head neutral. Play around with it, lubricate the joints and ankles, flex and point, twirl the ankles one direction and the other. And begin to bring the legs back up overhead for Halasana just for a moment to release out of our Salamba Sarvangasana and slowly lowering the legs down to the mat with control. And making every movement, every breath intentional in our practice. Final posture before we come to Shavasana will be Supta Baddha Konasana, that reclined butterfly. Soles of feet kissing, knees are open like a book, one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly, and just beginning to absorb the practice that you just completed. Not entirely done yet. No practice is complete without Shavasana. Don't skip it. It's the most important part of the practice. So as ready, either staying in Supta Baddha Konasana or taking the traditional corpse pose with the feet coming to the corners of the mat and the arms coming out wide, palms facing up, eyes closed. Just finding your way to melting into your mat. Restoring, truly let it go. Shavasana. Stay here as long as you like. Up to 10 minutes would be optimal. But if you're with me, begin to make very slow and gentle movements, fingers and toes. Move your head from side to side. Eventually taking a long body stretch as if you're waking up from a nap. Fingertips to the toes. Bring one knee in, hug it in, and then the other. Wrap your arms around your knees. Roll up into a ball if you like, forehead toward the knees, showing yourself loving kindness. Coming up to seated Sukhasana, hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining me in this practice of mindfulness today. Namaste. See you on your mat.